So we're going to start out with reviewing the two formulas that we know, and then I'm going to give you one new one. Okay, so slope. M for slope. This is the first two questions on your test that you just got back. Y2 minus Y1 over, good, write it down. And then what was your slope intercept form? Perfect. M is your slope, B is the y-intercept. That's why it's called slope intercept form. Okay. And then I'm going to give you one new one. It is y minus y equals slope, which is M, x minus x. Now you have to put these little ones in here. We only use 1 point for point slope. There's not a 1 and a 2. You only need 1 point for point slope. I'm going to get to that in a minute. We're going to just review these first two, and then I'll show you that one, so don't get hung up on that. But as foreshadowing, the first 3 questions on your next test are these. Do you get what I'm saying? Yes. Okay. There's not going to be any more. Those are the formulas. And you already know 2 of them, so you only have 1 new thing to learn. So we're going to write our equations in y equals mx plus b. Here's the slope, here's the y-intercept. Well, if that's your slope and that's your y-intercept, those are all the ingredients you need. You're really just building the equation. It would be y equals what? Like we can kind of just write the answer. We have everything. Good, 1/2 x, perfect. Minus 3, that's it. You just need the slope and the y-intercept, and you're just basically putting everything in the correct place, and you need to know the format. Now, what about the next one? Slope 0. What does that line look like? It would look like this, right? So if you think about like where that would be on your graph, if it goes through the point 0, 4, you'd have the point 0, 4, and then you'd have 1, 4, and 2, 4, and 3, 4, and 4, 4, and 5, 4, and 6, 4. But y is always 4. So it's just y equals 4. If it was vertical, it would be x equals 4, whatever the number was. Yeah. Your vertical and horizontal lines are like the exception to these formulas because one is 0 and one is undefined.
So would it be possible for us to get 0, 0?
Yeah, then, well, so if this line was on 0, like if it was right here, you would get y equals 0.
So want to be horizontal.
It would still be horizontal. It would just be at 0 instead of 4, is what you're saying. Like it would just be on the axis. All right, in this one, it's the same question. We just are using a graph. So you have to count the little boxes to get the slope. So how much down and then how much to the right are we going? Down 3, so minus 3, and then how much for the horizontal distance? 4. So your slope is negative 3 over 4. So when you put that into your equation, it'll be y equals negative 3 over 4x. And then what's the y-intercept? You need the slope and the y-intercept. 2, so plus 2. So that one is the same question. We're just looking at it visually instead. Now, what if you don't have the slope and the y-intercept? If you have them, it's great. You pretty much just write the answer. Those are easy peasy. You just put everything in the right place. If you don't have the slope, find that first. And you would use this formula right here. So if you don't have the slope, you have to get that. You can't write a line without a slope. If you're not given the y-intercept, you're getting, oh, not given, I'm sorry. That should say not given the slope. I apologize, typo. If you're not given the y-intercept, you're gonna write your equation in point slope form first, because this point can be any point. This one has to be the y, I need to make sure you guys understand this. Don't go to sleep on me. This has to be the y-intercept. It's really picky. Point slope, that point can be any point on the line. Do you get what I'm saying? Like it's less picky. This one has to be the y-intercept. This one can be any point that's on the line. So you would write it in point slope form and then just rearrange it. You would distribute the slope and get y alone. Just rearrange it so it's in y equals mx plus b. We are going to practice the heck out of this, okay? Write the equation in slope intercept form. Slope is 4, so this is our slope. through this point. So label that X, Y, and they get ones. You're only gonna have 1 point. You don't have a second point here. So it is gonna be Y minus Y1. What number is Y1? Negative, so do you guys see that there? Y minus Y1 equals M. What's M?
Slope,
Slope, which is
4.
4. Parenthesis, still reading along there, X minus X1, which is 2. Y minus Y equals slope X minus X. I'm gonna say that over and over. Y minus Y equals slope X minus X. Y minus Y equals slope X minus X. All right, what happens to these negatives? A double negative is gonna be positive. It's gonna cancel out. Y plus 3 equals, and what do we need to do with this 4? Distribute. Distribute the slope. So if you distribute that 4, what are you gonna get? 4x minus 8. And then you need to get y alone. So how would you get y alone? Subtract 3 from both sides. Y equals, which was our whole goal, 4x, negative 8 and negative 3 is negative 11, and that is your answer. So you write it out and you distribute the slope and then just get y alone. We're gonna try it again. We're gonna just practice the heck out of that. So write the equation slope-intercept form. Our slope is 2/3, and then this is our point. How would we label it? How would I label this point? X1, Y1. You only have 1 point instead of 2, so they're both ones. All right, and some of you were saying the equation already. It'll be Y minus, and then what's our Y1 number? Negative 5, perfect. Equals 2/3, which is our slope. Good. You have all the ingredients, you're just putting them in the right place. Parenthesis, X minus 9. Good. And now you're just rearranging. These negatives cancel, so it's Y plus 5. And what are we gonna do with the 2/3? Distribute. So that'll be 2/3 X minus, and it is 6. If you don't have a calculator in your brain like Corey, you would use Desmos. How did you do that? I know how I do it in my head, but I'm just curious how you did it. It's 9 times 2, which is 18, divided by 3, 6. Anyway, cool. That's cool that you knew that. And then what's your last step to get y alone? Subtract 5. So y equals 2/3 X minus 11. Negative 5 and negative 6 makes negative 11. Weirdly, that and the other problem both came out to negative 11. All right, so for these ones down here, what do we not have? What were we not given? We do not have the slope. So that means you have to find the slope first. Label your points, x, y, 1s and 2s. This is what you did on the Unit 4 test. Just do it again. If you don't have the slope, you have to find that first. So using your slope formula, what comes first? Like which one of these numbers that we labeled? Which one? I think somebody said it back there. Negative 1, good. Minus 5, good. We're subtracting the y's. Negative 1 minus 5. And then in the denominator, so it's 0 minus negative 3, which would be plus 3. But you have to write it down. Now, again, on a test or quiz, you would just type that into Desmos and get an answer. Here, let's work it out together. Negative 1 and negative 5 would be negative 6. What's the denominator? Yeah, like just 3, right? And that's going to be negative 2 over 1, which just is negative 2. Okay, we found the slope. Yippee. What do you notice about these points? One of them is a particular point. Like one of them is like, yes, we have that point. Do you see this one? 0, -1. What is that? That's your y-intercept. So look, we have our slope, we have our y-intercept. You can just go ahead and write the answer. Just you have all the ingredients, put them in the right place. It'll be y equals -2x. This is our slope. And then perfect, -1. So if you're aware of that, that saves you a lot of work. Let's try that again. Go ahead and label these points, x, y, 1s and 2s. When you plug into your slope formula, which number is going to come first?
X2, Y2.
Y2.
So -2
So it'll be -2
minus -1
minus -1, which would be +1.
and then
You can
5
write minus negative. That's totally fine. I'm just canceling them out.
and then 5 minus 2.
Over 5 minus 2.
So the denominator is 3.
Again, on a test situation, you type it in the calculator.
-1/3.
Good. This numerator will be -1. And then 5 minus 2 is 3. So -1/3. Now this one is kind of a bummer because we don't have the y-intercept. That means we're going to use this formula right here. And you can pick either point you want. Here's my suggestion though, and I'm not going to give you bad advice because I want your grades to all be good. Use the first one. It's already labeled with 1s. You could use the second one if you want, but use the first one. Okay, just for the sake of keeping things simple. It'll be y minus what? So you're always subtracting. So it was 0 minus -3. And you can write minus negative if you want. I just canceled them out. But for this one, it'll be y minus, what's y1? The same thing is going to happen here. Do you see that? If it's y minus -1, it'll be y plus 1. Good. Equals, what comes next? Again, you're just putting everything in the right place. Yeah, slope, which we found is -1/3. Parenthesis. Still follow along. What comes next? X minus 2. Okay, can you stop? Because I need to lead everybody there. Okay. Are you getting this written down? Good, okay. You're going to take your slope and distribute it. This will be y plus 1 equals -1/3 x. What's going to happen to these negatives when we multiply? Negatives are going to cancel. It'll be positive 2/3. 1/3 times 2 would be 2/3. Again, you can use a calculator on your test. And then last step is get y alone. What would you do to get rid of the plus 1? -1. So this will be y equals -1/3 x minus 1/3. 2/3 minus 1 would be a -1/3. Again, I'm just telling you that because I don't want us to have to get all the computers back out, but you could type it into Desmos. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. So this is the same kind of question. It's just instead of the 2 points being written like ordered pairs, they're in table form, but it is the same question as 6 and 7. My suggestion is write them as ordered pairs so that you can label them. It's just easier to deal with it that way than in the table is my suggestion. And again, I'm not going to give you bad advice. I want you to like be successful, right? And then label them. They're both XY, XY. The first one is 1, the second one is 2. What do we not have that we have to find first? Slope. If you don't have the slope, you have to find that first. And I think you guys are just being quiet. I know you know this formula. What number are we going to start with?
No, technically y. Y. Hey, -1. Y to 1.
1 is where you're going to start.
Oh, wait, I'm not-
And then what? Minus -8. Now, if you do minus -8,
over.
if you do minus -8,
Oh, add it.
it'll be +8. Good. It's like pulling teeth. All right. And then it'll be 5
or 5 minus 2.
Minus 2, good. Okay, let's work that out. 1 plus 8,
9 over
9. 5 minus 2 is 3. And 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now, is either of these points the y-intercept? No, neither of them is 0 something, okay? Use the first one. We're going to plug into this formula, all right? It will be y minus what? We're going to use this first point. Y minus negative 8 will be plus 8. Good. Equals. You're just building the equation. What comes next?
3.
Slope, which is 3. Good. Parenthesis. X minus 2. You have all the numbers. You're just putting them in the right place. You just have to memorize the format. Don't go to sleep on me. You have to know this, right? Then what? Because now we're just going to rearrange it. What next, guys? Pick up your pencil. We're going to distribute the 3. That will give you 3x minus 6. Good. And then what's your last step? Subtract 8. Good. We're going to get y by itself. So this will be y equals 3x. And then look at negative 6 and negative 8 be negative 14. Go ahead.
No, subtract.
You're subtracting? So it's x minus 2. How come the 8 ended up being plus though?
Because it canceled.
Because see how the 8's negative?
If it was already a
It's
negative
y
2,
minus negative 8. It would look like this.
So if it was already a negative 2, it would have
So that's why that one ended up being plus, but this one was just a 2. So it's x minus 2. The formula is subtraction. Question? Okay. Did that answer your question? Write the equation in slope-intercept form. We want an x-intercept at negative 8. Oh, why is this a really good piece of information to have? Well, we need the slope, but we have the y-intercept, so that's good. Now, again, my suggestion is write these as ordered pairs. Your x-intercept's negative 8. It'll be negative 8, comma 0. And then how would we write the y-intercept? Please stop that. How would we write the y-intercept? 0, 2. Good. Label them, and we're going to find the slope. All these formulas involve subtraction. So when you have negatives, they cancel out. All right, so when you find the slope, what number are you going to start with?
2
2
minus 0.
minus 0.
2 on top,
So that'll be on the top.
and then 0 plus 8.
Now let me get everybody through this because this is where we had a question before. It's 0 minus negative 8. So that would be 0 plus 8. Are you with me on the negatives? So this would give you 2 over 8. That reduces, perfect, 1/4. Now we don't have to do this because we have the y-intercept. This is our slope. This is our y-intercept. Just write the answer. It'll be y equals what?
1/4 minus 2.
1/4 x plus 2. Good. So if you have the y-intercept, you are good to go. These next two are the same kind of problem. It's just written in table form. If you do not have the slope, that is the first thing that you have to find. So we're going to see how much these are changing from 176 to 302. Let me pull up the calculator real quick. I'm tired too. You're going to be okay. All right, so we are adding 126 each time. So to get from here to here and here to here and here to here, we're adding 126. So it's 126 over, and I just typed that in the calculator. What are we changing? Oh, good. What are we changing on this side? What are we adding each time? 3. And so that is going to be 42 for our slope. 42 for your slope. Now, are any of these points 0 something? No, you unfortunately do not have the y-intercept. So you're gonna have to do this. It does not matter which point you use. I would use the first one for no other reason than it's the first one. Okay, so it is gonna be y minus which one of these numbers? Y minus 176 equals, you're just putting everything in the right place. You have all the ingredients, just put them in the right place.
42.
42, that's your slope, parenthesis. Can you pick up a pencil? Write this down. X minus 3. And then you just have to rearrange it. The numbers were just a little bit bigger in this one. Y minus 176 equals, you're going to distribute the 142, or the 42, I'm sorry, it's just a 42, I'm sorry. That'd be 42x minus 126. Yeah, that's kind of the same thing we did there. And then what's your last step? You want y alone. Not subtract, but add the 176.
And then that would be 40.
Oh, hold on, let's see. Y equals 42x. Yeah, plus 50. I agree. You have like a calculator inside your brain. Kind words only. All right, let's do the slope. If you don't have the slope, you have to find that first. What are we changing each time right here? What are you adding?
12.
Is it 12 each time? 12? And then what are you adding each time here? 2. Go ahead. The first one's going to be X and the second one's going to be Y. But that's a question on a test. If you ever weren't sure, I'll tell you. Just call me over and I'll tell you which one's which. But the first one would be X and the second one would be Y. So what's our slope? 12 divided by 2, 6. Is any of these points 0 something? No. Unfortunately, you don't have a y-intercept. You're going to have to use this. Which points have I told you like 3 times that you should use now? Use the first one for no other reason than it's the first one, because you have to pick one. All right, so let me cover these up so we don't look at those. It'll be y minus 34, good, equals 6, parenthesis, x minus 4, good. You have all the numbers, you just have to put them in the right place. Then what? Now you have to rearrange it.
6x minus 24.
Good, distribute. That'll give you 6x minus 24.
And then add 34.
And then plus 34.
Y equals 6x plus
Good. And so y equals 6x plus 10. Question? We're feeling okay? The ones in the back, I think I just made a review of horizontal and vertical lines. Those are kind of the exception to everything. Do you remember me bringing up this acronym? And did your teacher do that in Math 8?
No.
Oh, no? Okay. What did the H stand for? Horizontal. Horizontal and vertical lines are both easy and difficult at the same time. It's easy because there's not much to them, but they're hard because you don't want to get them backwards. Horizontal, the 0 means it's a 0 slope. So 0 slope. And the equations are y equals a number. It'll be y equals 7 or y equals -3 or y equals whatever.
And then vertical.
V stands for vertical. Their slope is undefined. Now, can you hold on? Because I need to give everyone a chance to write it. Vertical lines have an undefined slope. And when you write the equation, it's going to be x equals a number. X equals 5, x equals 17 million, or whatever it is. I'm sorry, make this one 13, I apologize. So they're easy and hard. You don't want to mix them up, right? So write the equation with an undefined slope. Oh, is that horizontal or vertical?
Vertical.
Vertical, it's going to be this way. And so its equation should be x equals a number. That's it. It's the whole y equals mx plus b thing goes out the window. It's just going to be x equals a number. Look at your point. Which one of these is x?
4.
4. X equals 4 is literally the answer. That's all. There's no work. You don't have to do any of this. But you do have to make sure you don't get it backwards. That's the hard part. Write an equation with zero slope. That would be this way. So since it's horizontal, it's going to be y equals something. Oh, y negative 2. Where'd you get that from? Yes, exactly. This is x, this is y. But again, it's easy to get them backwards. So just make sure you know this acronym so that you don't get them backwards. If it's horizontal, it's y equals. If it's vertical, it's x equals.